Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you some hints and tips for using the brand new dies from Crafter's Companion. There is the 5x7 jigsaw die and also I have the 8x10. I've got lots of hints and tips for ways that it might work better for yourself. I've decided that there are certain techniques that I like better. So let's get started. This is the 7x5 die. You can see it's a pretty heavy, chunky piece of metal, and we know that it's a multimedia die because it's in sort of this rose gold colour. The rest of them would just be in sort of the usual silvery colour. So that's my die, and you also can get the packs of mount board to do your jigsaws, which are a really good depth and give quite a bit of stability to your jigsaw. These come in a pack of 20 and I've already pulled one out to show you how thick they are. Okay, so the first technique I want to show you, I'm not actually going to use a photograph, but I'm going to be using a bit of the mount board. So this is just ordinary photograph paper, and one of the ways we've been shown to do it is to use tacky glue on the back. So I have this non-stick mat which I like to use when I'm doing it, so just pop it onto there. This is a loyalty card, credit card, whatever you want to call it, but it does the job well for what I need it for. And I'm just going to put a good amount of glue onto the back of the photograph paper. So if you were sticking this down, if this was an actual photograph and you wanted to stick this down onto your piece of mount board, you can see where I've put the glue, you've got globby bits and there's bits in the middle that have missed, and this is the reason why I do this particular technique, is because I found when I'd stuck it down with the tacky glue I was getting air pockets. So the jigsaw die was actually cutting out absolutely fine, but when I was taking it and removing it from the die itself, little tiny sort of corners came away and I was having to go back in with glue and stick it down. So this is quite a satisfying job to do, but as you can see I've just got the card at an angle, about a 45-degree angle, and I'm just spreading it all over the back of the photograph paper. And can you see how it's really covered and there's no little pockets left? If you think you've missed a bit, you can go over again and just pull it down like so. So that's one way to do it. Okay, you can see how much glue I've wasted there. Didn't need as much on, but you know, that's a learning curve. I'll pop that to one side. So this is the picture of my cat that I did last night. It did warp a little bit. The nature of the beast is in the glue there is water, and this just being sort of thick card, it did want to bow and bend a little bit. So I would recommend that you pop it under something heavy, a couple of books, something like that. And mine was done at about 7 o'clock last night. It's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's had a good few hours to actually dry. You will notice that there is a border around the outside, so the pieces of mount board are actually bigger than the size of the die itself, so that you have got a little bit of wiggle room. If you're filling the whole space with your photograph, you have got a little bit of room to manoeuvre it into place there. So this is done with the tacky glue, and you can see it's nice and dry. I can't see any little air pockets or anything like that, and that's perfect. So that's one way that I like to do it. I nearly forgot to mention to you all that if you do forget to pop it under something heavy to dry and you find that it has warped a little bit, you can actually pop it between two pieces of photocopy paper and run it through your Gemini, and that should also flatten it out. So don't panic if you have forgotten to pop it under something heavy. It's just another tip that you might find helpful. So we're going to go on to the next part now. So I've got my piece of mount board again and another picture of one of my pussycats. So this is double-sided adhesive. It comes in A4 and A5 sheets like so, and what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to cut it to the size of the actual photograph rather than the size of the mount board. That's going to be 5, but I'm not going to go on and cut it to 7 yet. What I'm going to do is first of all turn my photograph over and remove the film. But not take it all the way off, not just yet. So I've got something to hold on to here, and you're going to try your best to line it up nice and straight if you can, and then as you roll the adhesive down the back of the photograph, you're just going to run your hand over the back. And what I've done is I've stopped there, okay, and I'm just going to pop it back into my guillotine and chop off that extra sticky bit, and then this is just your normal adhesive. So if you can see there is a couple of little bubbles in the back, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to work them out with my bone folder to remove those out of there. And then I'm going to need my pokey tool and that just comes off the back there and onto a piece of mount board like so. And because that is so sticky, that isn't going to move anywhere, and that is instant adhesion. There's no, you can't see any air pockets or anything in the actual back of the photograph, and you can go straight away, which is exactly what we're going to do. Bringing in my die here, so you can see I haven't actually put the die on square, it's slightly off here, and that's the good thing about having the sheets a little bit bigger, because you can play around with it. And I'm actually feeling the edge of the die onto the edge of my photograph there, and I would normally use a couple of bits of tape to keep it in place. So this is the plate that I used to cut out the A510 a couple of days ago, and you can see it's well bowed, but again, because it's a mixed media die, it is thicker than normal, so it is going to put a lot more pressure through the machine, and I would totally expect this to happen. However, with continued use that will flatten out easily. So they say the combination is your cutting plate, then your metal shim. If you've noticed there, I've put some washi tape around the corner edges just to take off the sharp edges. Then you're going to put your die down, and I always put mine at an angle, because if you're putting something through a machine like that and it's straight on, it's going to have to work a lot harder to get that through the machine, whereas if you turn it slightly to the side like that, then that point is going to go through first and get wider as it goes down. We don't need our magnetic shim for this, so just the milky plate, and then another well loved and well used cutting plate on the top, and then I'm going to run that through my Gemini. So just need to pop that through. Now you'll be able to hear the sound change, and it does sound like it's going to stop and give you the plates back, but actually it keeps going. I'll turn it right round, and it's come out the other side no problem. Now I have seen a few people, that's it gone through the machine once. I have seen a few people say that they have to put it through several times. However, to me that looks good to go. I'm certainly going to take the outsides off there. And look, it's come straight off, straight out of the die. And then we're just going to gently coax it apart. It will be, don't be too rough with it. I think people expect that it's just going to jump straight out of the die and it's going to be absolutely fine, but you've got to remember that this is really thick mount board with a piece of, I don't know, maybe it's 250 gram photograph paper on it. You've got a self-adhesive sheet in the middle of it, so don't be too rough when you first take it apart. What you might see is on here, for example, there's a couple of little furry edges. If I'm worried about that, which to be fair, it probably bothers me more than it would bother the recipient of a jigsaw that I was going to make, but just an ordinary emery board and just file the little pips off it and it's absolutely fine. So that's my jigsaw die done. I'm just going to, for my own satisfaction, I'm going to pop it through the Gemini, what's left of the jigsaw. I'm going to pop it through again. Okay, so we'll pop it back through the Gemini, feed the plates in. What some people are saying is they're popping it through to cut more than once. You can remember with the Gemini that you can actually stop it and reverse the plates back out, and you've got 2 cuts in that one pass, rather than let it pass all the way through, take it out, bring it round, put it back through again. So that's 2 cuts that's had there, which may have made a difference. Let's have a little look. So see, it does, because you put it back through, what it'll do is it'll sort of squash everything down, and you will get those little furry edges on. So you will need, oh, now you see that is coming apart a lot more easily. So I would say from that, with your adhesive sheets, your double-sided adhesive sheets, if you're going to use them, the trade-off is, if you're wanting to make your jigsaws immediately, then you can stick it down and you can cut them immediately and have a jigsaw immediately. However, you might have to take 5 minutes just to take off those edges. Okay, so that's with the double-sided adhesive. So that works for me. That trade-off is a good trade-off. This is the other one I did earlier, and this is the one that has the glue that's been on there for well, over 24 hours anyway. So I'll pop him down. Same combination. I mean, you can see how battered my sheets are. What I'll probably do is, I should really keep a separate set for mixed media dies, but I haven't used any mixed media dies for ages. So again, through your Gemini, you can hear it. It sounds like it's not going to take the die. You might need to give it a little bit of a push sometimes. That's just because my plates are really bored and warped at the moment. We're going to stop it and we're going to bring it back. That's given it the 2 cuts in the one pass. So hopefully that is cut all the way through. I may have stopped it too soon and not cut that corner, but we'll soon find out. Ah, yeah, so I needed to pop it through again. So just be careful of that. If you're going to do the reverse, and you must make it so that you're going to get the die through. So let's pop it through the Gemini again and we'll give it another good cut. This time I'm just going to let it run all the way through and take it out the other side because we've already cut it twice. All I wanted to do was catch that little piece that I missed the first time around. So where's my die? Here. So that has cut, by the looks of it, like a dream. Yep. So it's coming apart before I've even got it out of the die. So there's a few little furry bits on the edges, but like I say, that has done it beautifully. There's no furry edges on the inside, but I had to let that piece of photograph paper and card dry for several hours. In fact, it was about 18 hours. So that's actually worked a lot better. You can see those edges are a lot more crisp. That's just the outside edge where it's squidged out, so you can go around that with your nail file. But like I say, it's your decision. You might want to do the trade-off where you can do it straight away, but you have to spend 5 or 10 minutes filing off the furry edges. That's with the double-sided adhesive, or you could just use the tacky glue but give it a good few hours to dry, but then you've got the nice crisp edges. Okay, so here are the two jigsaws that I've just done. We've got the one on the left, that was the one where I'd let the glue dry for about 18 hours, and that one's cut really crisp and sharp, comes apart really easily. The other one is the one that I did with the adhesive, which is a little bit harder to take apart, but like I say, once you've filed down those furry edges on it, it'll be absolutely fine. So that is the 7x5 Multi Media Jigsaw Die from Crafter's Companion, and I would say that when you're going to put your plates through your Gemini, the more bored they are, the less chances you have of the die going through. So just bear in mind when you're putting it through that you might have to give it a little push.